Hi guys, welcome back. We are clearly in a new space today if you are watching online. Welcome to my room. My kids are out on the couch watching The Incredibles while I try and get this episode recorded. I've worked all day. We made dinner. It's been raining outside. It's just kind of a moody day. I was trying to figure out what to talk about today. It's 6:30. We're just trying to get an episode in before the day is done so I can stick to my Earth Tone Tuesday drops as usual. So, what to talk about when there's nothing to talk about? Obviously, love. Love or God, or both, the love of God. Those are some of my favorite topics. But yeah, today I decided let's dive into the word single, why I'm single, my perspective on being single, the reframe that I've done recently and organically, not on purpose or anything, but just kind of an awakening that I've had and kind of what I still desire and crave out of life. And again, like I said, just kind of a reframe that has really resonated with me. I feel like the word single has two different connotations. The first is the more old school traditional one, which is kind of negative, and it's almost like, well, why are you single? Why aren't you married? What is lacking in your life? What's wrong with you? Why doesn't somebody want you? Why are you single? And you almost have to provide an explanation. And number one, that becomes exhausting and that becomes tiring, and it's not always accurate. The second connotation of the word single is kind of like a hyper independence, kind of anti men, anti relationship, anti love type of energy. It's almost like both sides of the coin are like very extreme. And, so this whole time that I've been in my single motherhood era, I've been genuinely studying. I've been able to pick up on some really interesting thoughts and beliefs. And I think from time to time, it's just really good to check in with myself and ask myself, like, hey, are any of the beliefs that I'm carrying still accurate? Or do they need to be adjusted? Or are they harmful to me? And literally within the last, I think, 2 months, I just had this like reframe that just came very naturally to me, where I just realized I am not single. I am alive. And I feel like that idea that just, I think I was dropping off my kids at school when it came to me, but that concept literally like flipped my brain, where I just recognized like, I am alive. I am not attached to a relationship status to define my worth. I am alive and I am healthy, and I could go get love right now if I wanted it. I could stay single if I wanted it. And my worth and the value of my life does not tie down to my relationship status. And I think that that was like a really powerful breakthrough that I had, because number one, it came from myself, from my inner dialogue. And number two, it just kind of released me from that pressure that people put on me, society puts on me, and I put on myself. Sometimes my babies too. They talk a lot. They say their own things to me a lot about their thoughts on my life. But majority of the time it's society and myself that put those pressures on. So I just kind of decided, like, I'm not saying that I'm single anymore. I'm going to just start saying I'm alive. What else? What about it? What are we talking about? Why does it matter? Um, and so I just wanted to share with you guys more of that concept today. So, did you guys know that in the US, there are 10 million single parent households? 10 million. That means that there are about 23 million children being raised in those single parent households, which is the same ratio of like a 1 to 3. So, what I'm talking about today isn't like a rare situation or just like me and my boys. This is the reality of the current modern day family and the current system that we're all living in, at least here in the United States. I would say within the last 2 or 3 years, I've really gotten into a really deeply beautiful rhythm of life that feels very like structured and fixed. And it's kind of just like gently pulled me out of that survival mode that I used to be in, where it was just like constant stress, constant fear, constant stress, constant fear, constant anxiety. How am I going to pay my bills? How are my kids going to turn out one day? When am I going to find love? When is someone going to save me from this? Am I going to lose my job tomorrow? How am I going to pay for this bill? How am I going to take the kids on that trip? It was just a constant spiral of worst case scenario. And it was scary. And I was super unpresent in my life. And now I feel like I no longer reside there. I feel like, yes, I still have my normal adulthood stresses of those things, but that doesn't consume my life or my inner dialogue anymore. And, when that thought comes, I just address it. I go pay the bill. I go handle the fear. I go sit with the uncomfortability. And I remind myself that we're okay and that we're provided for and that God takes care of us. I know that I've shared bits and pieces of my story, and I know that they continue to kind of come up through these episodes, but I became a mother so incredibly young. I was a mother to one at 19 and a mother to two at 21. That is, on one side of the coin, that is horrifying, and on the other side of the coin, it's pretty heroic and amazing. And I'm very proud of myself for everything that I've created and stuck through and succeeded in thus far. And obviously, all of the praise goes to God for that. But at the same time, there is a woman inside of me that has sometimes been on pause and been put on the back burner because the role of the mother is always first and foremost. And I know that majority of mothers will resonate with that there's still a woman on the inside that is, ready to be claimed or loved or held or taken care of. And as I've been able to get to know my inner female deeper and deeper and deeper as the years have gone by, I've noticed that she's changed. And this is a conversation I've been having a lot. My siblings are starting to consider the same things I was at that age. Do I get married? Do I have children? Do I go explore the world? Do I focus on my career? Like, what's next for me? And it's really hard to explain to somebody the beauty of time and what time can show you as far as how it can heal you, how you can evolve, and how you can study life just through the concept of time. And so I can't give my siblings, let's say, my inner wisdom or my inner experience because it's not theirs. And so they wouldn't even appreciate it the way that I do. But at the same time, I feel the same way about the woman that I am, that the woman that I was at 19, 20, 21, 22 is so different than the woman that I am now. I'm 28, I'm about to be 29. I feel like I've been able to study myself through this time that I've had as a single mom. And so I know myself as a single mom, and I also know myself as a woman, where when I was 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, I had no concept of self. It was just living for my babies, living for God, living to take care of the kids, living to make God proud. And it was like, whoever Ella is, she doesn't matter. And through these years of being a single mom, I've been able to realize, like, this is still my life. This is still my choice. This is still my experience. And I get to parent two boys, and that is such a beautiful life. And I also get to advocate for who I am now and baby her and take care of her because she missed out on so many things fundamentally through childhood and through young adulthood. And so it's almost like I'm mothering myself as well. And I feel like now that I'm not in that survival mode, I know myself so deeply and I do know what I need. And I feel like because of that, I now know what I need from a potential partner because I know myself to that depth. So some people might look at me and say, like, oh, she's really picky. And maybe I am, but hear me out. Maybe it's just that I have a bar because of what I've been through, because of how I know myself to be, because of what I know my children need as far as like a role model. You could say it's picky, and maybe picky has a negative connotation as well. And maybe picky doesn't have to be a negative thing. But I like to look at it more so as just like this level and this bar and this standard that I hold for myself. And so if my bar is here for myself, why would I accept something around this area in somebody else? Like, I really need someone to come in at my level or above me, because that is going to be the direction that I move in. That is going to be who I follow when I'm lacking, and that is going to be who my boys are going to look up to. And so if the bar is down here, how are my kids going to look up to that? they're going to be looking down. More on that, more on, what it is that I'm looking for. I mean, I'm on a podcast, I might as well vocalize it. You never know where it's going to land, but some of the things that are really, really top priority for me are, first and foremost, spirituality, being in tune spiritually with God, and having an outward reflection of that. And so I believe that like how we treat others is how we actually show our devotion to God. So kindness and spirituality for me are like a handhold, because I don't believe in people that like obsess and love and adore God, but just treat everybody else like trash. Like that is not worship. And so for me, when I'm getting to know somebody, I know how spiritual they are and how they love God through how they interact with others that are different from them. Ambition. That doesn't mean that you have to be rich. I am not that girl. I am not the materialistic type of girl, but ambition to like pursue your dreams and put yourself out there and be brave and like roll the dice a little bit and believe in yourself and be confident when you're alone, and just like, yeah, I guess believing in yourself. That is like a really attractive thing to me. Other things are like, I'm very intellectual. Obviously, I have a podcast because I think very deeply. So someone that can like really get down and dirty into like different types of concepts, perspectives, beliefs, philosophies, theologies, all the different types of conversation around obviously religion, spirituality. I love talking about that. Someone that can just connect on me intellectually, someone that's been through darkness themselves and pulled themselves out of that, is a huge attraction to me, because I feel like I've been through my fair share of difficulty. And so I want someone who's going to be able to appreciate what I've chosen out of and what I have kind of saved myself from. And I don't think that someone that hasn't been through that themselves can appreciate that in me. Direction, just like a sense of knowing where they are going. That would, I guess, like standards, values, integrity, knowing that like, oh, it would be easy to do this, but my internal compass and my morals tell me otherwise. I'm deeply attracted to emotional intelligence and conflict resolution. Those were high conflict areas in my marriage. And so I definitely am looking for someone that brings a sense of peace and a sense of like, we're going to continue to work on this. We're going to continue to figure this out as a team. I am on your team. I am not opposed to you. I am on your team. That sense of, conflict resolution. And there actually are different types of conflict resolution. Maybe I'll turn that into a podcast, but it's really important to know your conflict style, because then you know how you can resolve within that style. So just making sure that like, however you are, that you kind of find a similar key that like allows you to like unlock the way to make that work, because sometimes it's people don't work just because their conflict styles are just so opposite, and there's no willingness to like work on like creating and adapting a new conflict style. So that's something that I look for, is someone that's like communicative and confrontational, because those are really big for me. Like I cannot do avoidance. Like my last relationship was avoidant, and like that taught me so much about, the stretches I'll go to try and make it work. But I just learned at the end of the day, I just don't know how to properly mesh with someone that's avoidant, because I'm like, oh, let's sit down and let's talk about it right now. Or let's talk about it in the next 24 hours. And how can we be better? And, how can we make sure that we check in about this to like keep ourselves on track? Or how can we have an upcoming conversation to make sure that we feel good about what we just agreed on? Like I'm like a fixer. So if we can't have that dialogue of like communication, oof, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to like brush things under the rug and like act like everything is fine when it's not. I will be like, so things aren't fine. That's my personality. And then, like someone, I guess the last thing on my list that like I really, really desire is someone with culture, someone that can teach me about where they come from, the music that they love, the instruments that come from their country, like the style, the fashion, did I say food? The food is a big one. The cooking, the spices, the language, the accents, like all of that variety like sets my soul on fire. So someone with culture is like a super important thing to me. And I think that deeper than that, it's that I can learn from somebody because I grew up in my culture. So I know my culture very closely. And I even married within my culture. I would much rather like connect with someone new and be able to learn from them in all of these new unique ways, be able to learn from them, their friends, their family, and just kind of the beautiful web of how they can expand my mind, which kind of goes back into what I said earlier about just like deeply desiring to be stimulated intellectually. Like I just love it. So I'm a curious cat. I'm always wanting to learn more and explore. So culture is very big for me. And obviously dance, if you know anything about me, you know that dance is such a big deal. So, you know, he doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10 dancer, but being able to just be like in tune with, you know, the music that comes from the culture or, you know, the dance moves that come from the culture, like, oof, that's just like extra credit. Like God knows, God's very aware. So some of the things that I've learned in the last couple years of my dating experience has been, I mean, I have not dated that many people in the last couple years, but things that I've kind of observed about myself that is different from the way I was when I was more so in my survival mode is like I'm comfortable and okay to like call it what it is. I'm comfortable to be like, this is not working. Or being able to lay down the law of like, if this doesn't change in this amount of time, I will be leaving. And that's not because I leave relationships, but it's because, like I said, I know this bar that I have. And I've already been through so many things and trying to make it work with certain people or trying to be loyal when I should have been leaving. And, you know, all of those situations were so hard for me to exit out of. And so I do feel like in my current state, it's like I didn't choose out of all of that and go through all of that turmoil and all of that work just to kind of like settle back into like a decent type of dynamic. Like, no, I chose out of that to get onto this beautiful, healthy level for myself and for my children. And I want to meet someone that's on that frequency. I do feel like that's where singlehood and women get misunderstood. It is just like within that concept. Like sometimes when women leave, it's not because they're quitters. It's literally because they are choosing better for themselves and like for their children, and they're setting that standard. And that should be something that is celebrated. As I said at the beginning, it's kind of learning deeper and deeper over time what is going to best fit my life. Where 10 years ago, I couldn't have told you that because I didn't have any understanding of what I would need or who I was or what was going to help me. When we were on spring break a couple weeks ago, my son said to me, "Hey, mom, I think that you're single because every time that we're in public, people see me and Rocco, and so they must think that our dad is just at home working." And I was like, yeah, that's true. That probably makes sense. There's probably a good amount of people that think that. And he's like, so what I'm thinking is you need to start leaving us at home and you need to go on walks. And super fast, you're going to find someone that is on a walk with you that just wants to marry you. And I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And all you have to do is just make out with them. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, go on a walk and kiss someone and then he'll give you a ring. And I was like, oh, is it really that easy? Okay. So, you know, maybe I'll start taking the dating advice of my 7-year-old. It's not a bad idea at this point, but I do find it beautiful. And again, to each their own. But for myself, I do find it beautiful that like my kids don't have any memory of a man being in our life. I've never gotten serious enough with anyone to introduce them to the children and for that person to like be spending ample amount of time at the home and like moving in with the kids and all of that. That's never been the case. And so for me in my childhood, I remember meeting quite a few different people and always being confused of like, who is this? And is this one my mom? Is that one my mom? Is this one my dad? Is that one my dad? And it was confusing. And, you know, I understand that back then, some of the awareness that we have in today's world wasn't like that. You know, I love my parents and I'm not trying to throw shade, but you know, that definitely impacted my life. And you could argue that it still impacts my life today with some of the connection issues I have with a parent, and that still makes it hard for me to feel safe in certain relationships. Um, but at the same time, I'm really grateful that I've at least been able to create a new dynamic for my boys where they only have the understanding of like me and them, and like it's a tight knit little community. And so, will there be growing pains if and when someone comes into my life one day? Probably. Um, and so, my hope is that if that happens, that there will be, some grace extended. I do also just find it beautiful that like the boys, when someone does step in, that the boys will gravitate towards that person, because it's not like, oh, here's the next one. Let's see if this one works for her. It's someone that not only do I crave and desire, but my kids do. My kids speak highly and frequently about, where's our stepdad? Where's someone that's going to like play football with us? Um, have you met him yet? Go on a walk and get married, please, for the love. So, it's cute, it's funny, it's innocent. I don't know if it's going to always be that way, but I know that for now, they're still very fond of that idea. They still want siblings and all of these things. And so it's been on my mind recently. But as I sometimes think, like, oh man, like, I feel so sad for them that they don't have that, or that, God hasn't introduced that part into our life yet. Or like, what if that never happens? Or, you know, what if I never have more children? Or, if I kind of get into that spiral, I kind of bring myself back to, again, this like new phase that I've entered, which is number one, I'm alive. I'm not single, I'm alive. And that is something to be celebrated and grateful for. I have the ability to connect with anyone on any given day. I know that there's probably a huge high probability that some of the people that are going to love me the most and the deepest I've yet to meet. That's an exciting thing. There are endless doors open to me, and that is an exciting thing. But something that I feel really powerful and strong in is the fact that I am choosing security and stability for my boys over lack, fear, or settling. So I thank God that even though when I was in some of my other phases of motherhood where scarcity and anxiety were driving me, and I was in that survival mode, I am still so grateful that nothing too serious happened. There were some good old heartbreaks, there's some good stories, there's some good moments of me getting cheated on, or finding out that my boyfriend had a really serious mental illness or whatever, and that was hard, and I had to make peace with that, and those things ended, and that's okay. But I didn't get too seriously involved with someone to the point of like no return, or like now I'm locked in for life. And so I'm grateful that, my boys still have no concept of anyone, because when someone does step in, it's going to be a legitimate thing, and the boys are going to understand that like that this is a new chapter for all of us, and we're going to figure this out together. And mom values stability and security over just being comfortable, or just having a partner, or just not wanting to be alone, or just not wanting to do it by herself, or wanting to give these responsibilities to somebody else, or using somebody to get something in return. Like, mom doesn't do that. She will sit there and work hard for us until the right one comes along, no matter how long that takes. I have been a single mom for almost 7 years. That is kind of wild. But at the same time, in those 7 years, I've seen a lot of different things play out. I've seen relationships come together, fall apart, get back together, work things out, adding babies, falling apart. And none of that is to throw shade on any of it, because I see it all as life. All of life is unpredictable. All of life is, a beautiful roller coaster that we each get to go on. And my life already is multiple of what I just said. So, and I wouldn't change my life just to have a picture perfect one way stop to love. I think that the rocky roads have been very beautiful in my life, and I know that one day when someone finds me, that it's also going to be a rocky road, because that's just life. And there's going to be ups and downs with that too. And so I'm grateful for the ups and downs of my life today. and just learning again how to love myself deeper, know what I need deeper, know the standard and the bar for my children, be an example to other single moms that like we can do it and it's a beautiful life, even if it is just you and your babies, or even if it is just you and you're just in that phase of singlehood. Just enjoy the highs and lows of this, because it could change in the split second. It could change tomorrow. It could change in a week. And then you'll have your new highs and lows and your new evolutions of what's easy and what's difficult. And so for the moment, just learning how to be content with being alive and where you are, it's powerful. I am single, and that's not because I don't have options. It's because I just know what I want for my family. I know the type of man that I want my boys to look up to. I know that there's going to be a man out there that takes care of my heart in a way that it never has been before. And until I feel that, I'm going to continue to try and take care of it myself. Um, and not just like give that away and give that out to just anybody just because they tick a couple of the boxes. I don't feel like the boxes that I said, besides the dancing, were that hard to attain. And I have faith and I believe that my life is on purpose and that God is the author of it, as I've said before. And my story is just not nearly ready to be closed. It's still being written. And I hope that other single moms that listen to this podcast feel the same way about their life day by day. If you just continue to have faith and just cultivate a beautiful prayer life and cultivate a desire to want to connect and be present in your life and be in your body and sit with the discomfort, you'll have the most amazing transformation over time. I've turned a new corner very recently from one of my best friends who gave me some really killer advice. And she said, just pursue what's pursuing you. And I don't know why that just like lifted this cloud from my conscience, but like that has literally changed my perspective on dating. Only pursue what's already pursuing you. It saves energy, it frees up space in your day to handle other things that are going on. And, you know, it leaves a lot of ambiguity out of the picture because it's basically looking at what's at your table instead of looking at what's at somebody else's table. Before I end, I just want to say I definitely do have a desire to be married. I definitely am a monogamous person. I have always dreamed of, you know, a Prince Charming. I would love more children. The goal was never to just have two. And there is already a decent age gap that would be there if I were to bring more kids in. But at the same time, children are such a blessing and just the treasures of the world that if I could have more, I would absolutely love that. So this podcast is not me being anti-men or anti-relationships or anti-love or trying to promote that to anybody else, but it's really just wrapping up like it's okay to be alone. We are not behind. We are not tied to our worth by if we are in a relationship or not. My desire to be in a relationship, if that happens one day, it's not from the space of lack and like I need someone to come in and heal me, fix me, save me. It's coming from a place of like deep desire to just connect, to just have companionship, to just have partnership, because I do handle all of my life. And that's a beautiful gift and something that I never thought I would be able to do 7 years ago, but here I am doing it. And so, you know, anything that comes outside of that, if someone wants to take care of us or provide for us, that would be an incredible gift as well. But at the same time, like the root of why I want a relationship in 2026 is just so simple. It's just to have partnership, to share a laugh, to go watch like the sunset together, to have somebody to like stare at while I eat my dinner, to have someone to dance with in the kitchen. You know, just someone to be able to call on my good days and my hard days, to be able to celebrate and amp up, and to also be able to just like lean on and have a good little cry sesh every now and then, you know, someone to be able to share my deepest, darkest thoughts with, or my, you know, beautiful moments of like motherhood with someone. Like, I don't feel like I'm asking for too much, but at the same time, I understand that The reason why that hasn't happened is because clearly I've just been growing into my own little beautiful flower. That's okay. My life does feel very full and very beautiful, and I would love to share that with someone. But if and when someone comes into my life, that will be something that I get to choose. It's not going to be something that I feel like I need to have. I have to have. My life depends on it. If it happens, that will be beautiful. And if it doesn't happen, my life will also be beautiful. So to any other single mom out there, we should not be waiting for our life to begin dependent on if somebody loves us or not. We should start living today, right now, in this moment, because we are worthy of being alive because we say so, not because of the circumstances that we were put into. Thanks for tuning in another week. Bye. Mwah.